Dzhokhar Tsarnaev has been sentenced to death in connection with his role in the Boston Marathon bombing. That comes after 3 days of jury deliberations, and the jury sentenced Tsarnaev to death on 6 of the 17 counts, including use of a weapon of mass destruction, bombing of a public place, and malicious destruction of property. A death sentence required a unanimous vote from the jury members, but if they had failed to agree on it, the life sentence would have been imposed automatically. So they did have that unanimous agreement on the sentencing of death. Now, just in case you've forgotten some of the results of that bombing that he received this death sentence for, the bombing killed 3 people: Martin Richard, who is 8, Lingzi Liu, who's 23, and Crystal Campbell, 29, and injured 264 others, more than a dozen of whom lost legs. And then afterward, on April 18th, the brothers assassinated an MIT police officer, Sean Collier, in his patrol car in a botched attempt to steal his gun. And so we're going to read some of the sort of philosophical justification for this death penalty being applied to him. But what was your initial reaction when you heard about this?
Well, I think I'm pretty consistent when it comes to the issue of the death penalty. I don't care who it's regarding. I'm against the death penalty. Not only because there are cases where innocent people are executed, but also philosophically, I just don't think that it makes sense to murder people as punishment for them murdering people, right? I think it just sends the wrong message. I'm against it. And also, I don't have any love for him. I'm not making any excuses for him. I think that he should serve the rest of his life behind bars. But I also think that he was young and impressionable, and I think he was influenced by his radicalized brother. So I don't know. I just don't agree with the death penalty.
She makes the exact right point when she says that, you know, murdering a murderer to prove that murder is wrong sounds inherently stupid. And when I woke up to this was when Timothy McVeigh bombed the Oklahoma City Federal Building, and Bill Clinton came on and he gave a speech. And during the speech, and I was all for killing him, right? I'm all, let's kill everybody. And
let's kill everybody.
And then Bill Clinton gave us, he said, we are going to seek the death penalty because we have to send the message that violence is not the answer to any of our problems. And it just, boom, my bullshit. I'm like, hey, that's a contradiction. I don't know if you realize that, that you just are saying you're going to do the exact thing you hate and to fix it. So if we're going to murder murderers, why don't we rape rapists, right? Oh, because nobody wants to
find volunteers.
Be a short line.
Yeah, and I think that they would say that the distinction is that the government should be allowed to murder people because they're really sure that those people should die. But the problem with that is Dzhokhar probably felt very sure those people should die. Everybody who kills people feels that they know what they're doing. They're wrong and they're crazy, and in some cases they seem evil. So why don't we just avoid the entire problem by not murdering?
And the truth is, when it comes to the death penalty, a lot of it has to do with vengeance more than making a rational or logical decision. Yeah, it's a very emotional decision, and I can totally understand why people want it. I despise people who murder others, who ruin the lives of others, who totally just have a complete disregard for human lives. But at the same time, the right punishment, if you want to look at every single element of this, what's more cost effective? What sends a better message to society? What's more effective in deterring these types of crimes? I would argue that the death penalty does not do any of those things. The death penalty actually is more expensive, especially when you consider the fact that, you know, they're going to spend a significant amount of time behind bars before they get executed. And also, it just sends the wrong message. So it doesn't really achieve anything, and it hasn't served as a deterrent at all.
In fact, the opposite. They've done studies, and they, in states, after they have an execution, violence goes up in the state. Murder goes up. It doesn't go the other way. So there's no deterrent at all to the death penalty. So now if there's no deterrent, now we're just doing it for vengeance. That's the only reason. So we're validating all the dark emotions that we're supposed to rise above because we have a frontal lobe, right? But we don't. Now we give into them, and they're going to give a bunch of bullshit reasons because this is the worst kind of a crime. It's the same thing with torture. It's not about that guy or what that guy did. It's about our society. It's about how we handle things. And if you value state murder, which is what it is, then go for it. I'm against state murder in every situation. We all see when, North Korea executes their people or Saudi Saudi Arabia or Iraq.
Yeah.
We all see how crazy that is, but somehow we get it right in America. And it's funny to me, the same people who don't trust the government to deliver a letter or trust the government to kill people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just want, I should probably go without saying, but I agree with Anna. He should never, ever, ever be free again. And I agree. I think you're probably right. He probably was influenced by his brother. But I do think that when you're of a certain age and you do certain things, you might well have been influenced, but we can't take the chance of ever giving you your freedom again.
Right.
So I think he should never be released, of course.
Of course agree with you on that.
So let's you were talking about there's going to be some justification for it. So this is not from the actual jury or from the judge. This is from Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General. But she said, "We know all too well that no verdict can heal the souls of those who lost loved ones, nor the minds and bodies of those who suffered life-changing injuries from this cowardly attack. But the ultimate penalty is the fitting punishment for this horrific crime, and we hope that the completion of this prosecution will bring some measure of closure to the victims and their families." And so I agree. I do think that there's a vengeance element, a revenge element, and people will often say, well, what if it was your family member that had been killed? You're probably right. I would probably be biased to want death. There's a reason why the jury is not just composed of the 12 people most directly affected by the crime.
Right.
He should go to jail. There's nothing extra that we get out of killing him in this case. And there's many cases, arguments that can be made that we lose a lot. There's a great cost to doing this.
And also, I apologize for forgetting the handle of the Twitter account that someone sent this to, but I think that this person made a really good point. By executing him, you're kind of giving him what he wants, right? Doesn't he want to be referred to as a martyr? And so this could be considered martyrdom in his sick and twisted logic. And so I think that it doesn't achieve anything at all. In fact, for those who believe in this radicalized type of thinking, he's getting exactly what he wants.
Yeah.
They're getting exactly what they want.
I think you're right.
That question, people always think that that's the argument winner. When they say, what if it was your wife? Or what if it was your daughter the guy killed? How would you feel then? Because if you say, they all think they're going to get you in that Dukakis moment, remember? Because they famously asked Mike Dukakis, Democratic nominee.
Worst last name
He
ever.
was against right, he's got cock right in the middle and a kiss right at the end. You know, he's a cock kisser. And they asked him what, she brought it up.
I know, she did. That's true.
I can't help it. Every time I hear his name, I'm like, Jesus.
So they asked Dukakis, what if it was your wife or daughter who was murdered and raped? Well, how would you still be against the death penalty? And he famously fanned on that. He couldn't answer that question. And the way you're supposed to answer that is, of course I'd want that guy dead. If someone killed my wife or my kid, I'd want that guy dead. I want him dead when they get my order wrong in the drive-thru. You know what that means? That means the victim shouldn't be doling out the punishment.
Right.
We should have an objective judge doling out the punishment, and that's why you don't let the victim decide what the punishment is in every situation.
Exactly, yeah.
We have somebody who has a larger view of what's best for our society, and so state murder is not good for our society.
We did a video a few months back, I think it was, where they had done polling about support for the death penalty, but it was really interesting because they broke it down based on what is the principal reason you support the death penalty. Is it that you think it will deter crime? Do you think eye for an eye is a good thing? Do you think it'll save money? All those sorts of things. And you see each of those rationales have differing levels of support. And I think, if I remember correctly, eye for an eye has actually been going up. That it is, people are willing to say, no, I just want the revenge. I don't actually believe anymore it's going to deter crime. But anyway, if you're interested in this, you should try to find that survey data, because that's really, really interesting.